Yeah, a little bit different this weekend, coming to you from Monza, Italy. More on that in a moment. Just an update on what happened in Abu Dhabi today. A little bit of an anticlimax, really. Lots of young drivers, nothing wrong with that. New drivers in FP1, notably Isaac Hadjar in Max Verstappen's car, and definitely not as a one-off. Brilliant to see Jack Doohan in the Esteban Ocon Alpine Renault, actually racing this weekend, so he's making his Grand Prix debut. Not before time, very talented young Australian. But anyway, yeah, lots of stand-ins, if you like, in FP1. So when Max Verstappen got into his Red Bull RB20 for FP2, he said, "What's happened to the front axle? No grip at the front. What's going on?" And so he spent most of the session just trying to get the understeer out of the car. Nothing to do with Isaac Hadjar, I'm sure, but nonetheless, not very happy. But I say it was an anticlimax because news broke before the beginning of FP2 that Charles Leclerc, who of course is spearheading Ferrari's attempt to try to win the 2024 Constructors World Championship, has incurred a 10-place grid penalty. I'll repeat that, 10-place grid penalty. Not unusual because it's a power unit thing, it's a battery pack thing. And so, yeah, unless something goes radically wrong now, it's an easy cakewalk for McLaren-Mercedes to secure this 2024 Constructors Championship. And of course, that is very much deserved. Two sides of that. One is so good, amazing that Lando didn't get a little bit closer in the Drivers' Championship, but we've talked enough about that. But here they are on the brink of clinching the Constructors' World Championship and 1-2 in practice for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix finale. Lando Norris just ahead of Oscar Piastri, 23.5 to Oscar's 23.7 on soft tyres, very quick on long runs as well. Nico Hülkenberg, third quickest for Haas Ferrari. I suppose, you know, given how well that team has gone this year, that's a pretty good result for them, isn't it? Just underlines how well they've done this year, 23.9. Carlos Sainz, the quicker of the two Ferrari drivers, 24.0 already. I presume Charles Leclerc's side of the garage thinking more about the race rather than anything else. 10-place grid penalty. I mean, it's just such a handicap that Ferrari must now be very debilitated. Lewis Hamilton, fifth quickest, 24.1. George Russell, 24.5. And then a bunch of cars on 24.2. Charles Leclerc, Valtteri Bottas, Kevin Magnussen, Alex Albon, the usual suspects, you could kind of say, and then a massive number of cars all bunched there for P10, including Max Verstappen, led by Yuki Tsunoda. So as I say, a bit of an anticlimactic day and potentially going to be an anticlimactic weekend as well. In the absence of a Drivers' World Championship, there's been a lot of billing for this constructors face-off, but at the moment as it stands, it's going to be very, very difficult for Ferrari. And so moving on from that, I think this is a very good moment to catch up with Pirelli, to talk to them about some of the contentious moments of 2024, but equally how well things have gone for them from their perspective. Bear in mind, touch wood, under this cap, there have been no real issues with the tyres this year, and it's been a pretty good year all round in terms of close and competitive racing. So I caught up with Mario Isola, and I'm going to talk a little bit more tomorrow as well about 2025 and 2026. But this is Mario and I having a chat a little bit earlier about how 24 has gone from his perspective. Mario, we are at the end now of the season, and I just wondered if I could get you to look back a little bit at some of the key moments, how things have gone from your point of view. Always a little bit of a question mark, how the tyres are going to go. I guess you don't do as much testing as you'd really want. So how did 25 work out for you?
If you talk about testing and you talk with my engineers, they are never happy with the amount of tests we have available. But I believe that now we have a good situation, a good compromise with the teams. I understand how difficult it is for the teams to give us a car, a driver, and a crew to run a car. It is a long season, 24 races, the longest in the Formula One history, I believe. So I'm very grateful to the teams for providing us cars and people to run the test. We have been not very lucky this year because we were planning some wet tests that turned to be dry, and we were planning some dry tests that turned to be wet. But unfortunately, we cannot control the weather. But I believe that we have now a good situation for 2025. But coming back to 2024, we had a great season. We have a great season. It's a long time we don't have 3-4 teams fighting for the constructor championship with many different drivers. How many winners we had this season? I believe probably more than eight. I didn't make a calculation, but we didn't have a domination of only one driver. That's exactly what spectators want to see, and so from our side, tires were working well. We had many races with a two-stop strategy and different strategies. We were faster than last year. Performance of the cars is incredible, and obviously we had also the possibility to understand how our product works and where we can improve it.
Well, I've got to take my hat off to you, and I'm touching wood now under my hat, which is that you didn't, as far as I can see, you didn't actually have any real issues with the tires either, in terms of problems with the tires. We've seen that in the past. I know how difficult it is as a monopoly supplier to have to try to avoid that and nonetheless be competitive and build great tires. And that's all credit to you for that.
Thank you. All credit to the team that is working in developing the tires. They did a great job since the introduction of the 18-inch. I believe it was a big step in the right direction. These cars the performance of this car is crazy. Sometime when we received the simulation from the teams before an event, we say they are probably overestimating the level of load on tires and so on.
Can you give us an idea of the numbers?
We are talking about more than, sometime more than 1,400 kilos on a single tire. So you can imagine the level of stress, vertical and lateral stress. These cars are different from the previous generation because this downforce package is able to generate more and more downforce with the speed. While in the past, the wings were at a certain point, they were not generating additional downforce. Now, especially on the high-speed corners, the level of downforce is crazy, and it's all on tires basically. So we have data from the teams. So we had the possibility to replicate the stress on a number of methodologies that we're running with our indoor test department that obviously is giving us feedback on how the tires then operate on track. But the amount of stress, the amount of energy that those cars are putting on tires is much, much, much higher than in the past. Don't forget the cars are heavier. So when we compare a lap time from 2024 with a lap time from 2006, for example, and we say, it's just close to 2006, yes, but the cars at that time were 200 kilos lighter. And 200 kilos on a Formula One car means, 7 seconds probably or something like that. So it's really the technology that is on these cars is unbelievable, and therefore the stress they put on tires. In Qatar, we were simulating a pole position time 2 seconds faster than last year. And we said, okay, 2 seconds seems a bit too much. Actually, they were 3.5 seconds quicker last year. So you can imagine the difference in tire stress is incredible.
Can you give us any idea of the sorts of materials you're using now in the belt and the sidewall?
Unfortunately, not for confidentiality, but what I can tell you is that we are always committed to develop new materials because we need to increase the durability, the resistance of the materials without increasing the weight. Sometimes we increase the weight by 100 grams, 200 grams, and the teams are shouting at this because they don't want to add weight to the tires. But we need to make a tire that is super resistant, and obviously without increasing the weight is difficult. That's why the development of the material is are really important, and it's really useful also for the company, because we find materials that we can use also on other application, on GT tires, but also ultra high performance road tires like the P0 Trofeo, for example. So this is an example of technology transfer that we have from Formula One to road tires. That is very important, that it is in the material. The level of details in any element of the tires is unbelievable. Not just, I mean, the textile that we use in the carcass is important, but also the compound, the topping compound that is putting all the cores together. Because if you have a laceration of the topping compound, the additional resistance of the material is useless. So it's all playing a part in this equation.
Sometimes I think, and maybe just the light, but sometimes we see the color coating on the sidewall coming off a little bit during the run. Is that correct? And if so, what causes that?
Sometimes it's because they brush a little bit at the tires, especially on street circuits, on the walls, or there are small contacts, or also the heat that you can generate into the tire can cause a sort of aging of the labels. We are working to improve that to avoid that we have this change in color. It's just an aesthetic effect.
I'm just going to mention three things, if you can just quickly respond to them, to do with 2024. One is tire warmers by regulation now not doing the job they used to do. How do you feel that's going? Obviously, we had some tire warming issues at various races, but I guess that's what they want, right?
I believe that 70 degrees is a good compromise between removing completely the tire warmers and the previous situation where we were heating tires at more than 100 degrees. We usually don't struggle with warm-up phase. The drivers, obviously each driver would like to have a tire ready from turn one. In the outlap, that's not possible. They have to warm the tire, as it happens in many other championships, like Formula 2, Formula 3, or others. And it's just a matter for them to get used to the situation. But I believe that 70 degrees now is it's okay for slick tires.
Changing tires in a red zone, it got a lot of publicity in Brazil, obviously. We know inside Formula One the reasons for doing that, but how do you react to that now? Do you think there'll be any changes in the future to that rule?
It was discussed, because clearly it's important that they have the possibility to change the tires in case of red flag. Usually you have a red flag when there is an incident and there is debris on track. So you can have tires from other competitors not involved in the accident with the small cuts that can create an issue with the integrity of the tire. So it's important we keep the possibility to change the tires. There is an ongoing discussion on the fact they have to use the same compound or not. That was discussed at the SAC meeting, and I believe a final position is still not decided, but there is an ongoing discussion.
And finally, just for 2024, some of the drivers have been quite critical of the tires on the radio in the heat of the moment. This compound, that compound feels different to another compound. I hope I understand your position completely, and I'm impressed by how tolerant you guys are. But is there any truth in any of that? Is there more disparity between some compounds within a compound, one type of tire within a compound than another this year more than ever before, or not?
We have to remind that the allocation is random and is defined by the FIA. So it's really impossible for us to make a different tire. And from the beginning of our experience in Formula One, we decided to check each batch of compound, each batch of material very carefully and in small quantities. So we have a quality control system that is really guaranteeing us that all the tires are the same. They are producing the same batch to avoid any difference. Also in aging, for example, you can have a small difference depending on the blanket strategy from each team. how much they keep the tires in blanket could, let's say, cause a small difference in the final performance, but that's very, 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 very small. They cannot change the behavior of the tire with the blankets. The point is that this year we had several times 20 drivers in 1 second in qualifying, and not like in the past 3-4 seconds or someone close to the 107% exclusion zone. And when you have all the drivers in 1 second and maybe 3-4 drivers in 1/10 of a second, then the attention to each single detail is close to paranoia, I would say, because it's really can make a difference in the result of the qualifying session as well as in the pace for the race. Tires have some characteristics, so they have to degrade because that was required by Formula One to have an average of 2 stops per race. And if you don't have degradation, there is no reason to change the tires. So also the preparation of the tire is important, the outlap in qualifying or the preparation lap as they call it sometime. How you manage the tires at the beginning of the stint during the race, especially at the start of the race when the car is heavy. If you initiate the degrading or not, if you overheat the tire or not, if you balance the car in the proper way or you overstress one axle, because sometimes it's difficult to balance the front axle with the rear axle and keep the tires in the right working window, all the 4 tires in the right working window. That's why drivers are complaining sometimes about the tires. I don't feel good with this set. I want another set. I want a medium. I want the hard, and so on. They are in competition. They are fighting for a position, and it's understandable that in the heat of the moment, they are complaining about something, and the tires are the only part of the car that is touching the ground.
Mario, top man. Big thanks to him for his time, and very diplomatic at the end, I thought, probably more than the driver's concern deserved. But as I say, there'll be more of that chat with Mario tomorrow when he looks ahead to 2025, what we might expect there, even more cornering load, probably, and then into 2026 and how quick those cars will be around corners. And of course, they are definitely going to be quicker in a straight line as well with the active aero. So just to finish on a completely different note, a kind of Red Bull-centric note, Red Bull having won the Drivers' World Championship, Max having won his 4th World Championship. Pleased to announce that I now have a special arrangement with Amalgam Models, makers of these most unbelievable renditions of detailed Red Bull cars and parts of cars, all models, amazing, some of them full size, as you can see from the steering wheel, just fabulous. Every detail is specific to a specific car on a specific day at a specific race in different scales, and just blows your mind when you see it, really. So I have this special arrangement, and here is the code that you can use for your special price on an Amalgam Red Bull model. Big thanks to Jetcraft, to OEM Exclusive, and to Track Ninja, and of course to you for watching. See you tomorrow.